my DMV rivalry series. I have two standouts from American University and Franklin Ross. I like the Franklin part. Franklin Ross and Gordon Austin. Gordon Austin is a class of 83, and Frank is class of 87. And then I have a friendly face, frequent visitor. Actually, Dunes, I think I'm going to make you my co-host going forward. Bill Martin of Georgetown Regal. I just want to start off by saying thank you, fellas. DC means a lot to me, and the fact that you guys always play this tough. I did a little Googling, and it seems like we've only played each other 27 times, 28 times. That don't make no sense to me. But the record is 21-6. But the more important thing is the average margin of victory is less than 10 points. So that just speaks to the fact that it's a rivalry game. Emotions are high, and we play each other well. Before I jump into that, I just want to give love to Gordon and Frank. Gordon is the all-time assist leader. They're both Hall of Famers at American. Gordon is the all-time assist leader. His senior year, he was fourth in the country in terms of assists. His 4-year record at AU is the best in the 4-year span. Is 78 and 39, something like that. So I want to give you some love on that, Gordon. And then Frank, Frank is it speaks for itself. Like Frank, out of Potomac, he's in the top 10 and 12 statistical categories at AU. The advent of the three-point shot was when Frank was there, and he dropped 86 in 1 year, and that record still stands for the day. Both of these cats were drafted by the Sixers, which is interesting. It must have been an AU plug there. But this is also interesting. Both Billy and I were drafted by the Pacers, so go figure. Wow. So I don't know what that means, but clearly the universe wants us to do this show. But again, I just want people to understand these are two cats that balled out. This is not just two people who just rolled in to do this show. So I really appreciate both of you guys tapping in. Billy, again, you've been here before. We all know you. The Georgetown family knows you. Thank you for showing up. And I specifically asked you because of the relationship that you and Frank have. Because that, you introduced me to Frank more or less. And he's a lifetime friend. And then Gordon and I just go back to the 82-83 game. And I'm going to jump right into the series because Frank already smiled. So for me, playing against AU was like, okay, AU didn't recruit me. But that's nothing personal because nobody recruited me. But it was just a DC game, and the atmosphere was crazy. And American got us that day, and Gordon was unflappable. I mean, you couldn't turn this guy over. So with that as the lead-in, what did the Georgetown American series mean to each of you, if anything? And just speak to your journey to American, both you and Frank, and then Bill, you chime in on what the series meant to you as well.
Sure, Frank. Let me go first.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, good. So that obviously we won that game 62-61, right? 1982, right? Almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
Crazy part about that game was we got you right after the Sampson Ewing game, right? That was Saturday night. Then we played you on Wednesday. So I think you had an emotional letdown going into that game. Would you agree?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Billy, do we have an emotional letdown, Billy?
I don't think so. I just think on that day, it was their day. I went back and I looked at some of the stats. I even read a quote from Tapscott about Gordy. He's like, Gordy, they say most of the time when people win up against Pat, they wouldn't go a second time, but Gordy kept going in there, and Tap was like, "You guys don't understand. Gordy's crazy."
That's funny. That's cool. And truth of the matter on the game, we're up 15 at halftime. All right, we were playing a zone packed in, and then Gene, you played a hell of a second half, right? I think you actually led the whole comeback back.
6 steals that game.
Ed Sloan didn't play that game.
Ed Sloan did not play.
He was an okay ball handler, but he was probably our only other ball handler. So you can imagine going up against you guys, having to break the press. Gene face guarded me the whole time. I don't know if you were holding. I don't know if you were spitting at me. I don't know what you were doing.
No, he was spitting going on.
All
but I mean, all I had to do, and I couldn't, you stop for a second and 5 Georgetown Hoyas are right on you. Like, no, play the game. And I got to break it was just nightmare city. One more, probably 10 more seconds, we lose that game.
Right. And see, Gordo, the thing that I remember the most, because I was at that game, I think I had already committed to AU because the game was in December, correct?
Correct.
So I had already committed to AU, and I remember being in the Cap Center. I was up in the suite watching the game and looking at Gene just like he was like, he was just all up in you. And I mean, but you, like you said, you was unflappable. You handled it. But the thing that I didn't realize while I was sitting there is that you guys were teeing me up for the next year because they were going to be full of venom to come at me. So guess what he was spitting at the next year?
It was crazy. Hey, one other thing. So my freshman year, we played at McDonough. So this would have been 79, 80. And Bebe John Durham, right? Bebe, he just, whatever they changed their offense, second I went into the game, he just posted me up. And I mean, back then I was 5'11", 160. 3 quick fouls. Williams put me on the bench. I was done. It convinced me to hit the weight room. It made me, if I was going to play college ball, I had to get stronger.
Yep.
And he just annihilated me down low.
So Frank, for you, being from the district, was AU your first choice? Is because you had a great career at Potomac. How did you make your way to Massachusetts Avenue?
Well, actually, I only had 2 choices really, and that was AU and George Mason, because I didn't play varsity basketball until I was a senior in high school, basically. So I only had AU and Mason. And when I took the visit up to AU and saw the lovely Cassell Center that they were practicing in, and Gordo will get a chuckle out of it. Well, no, Gene, the Cassell Center is where you guys came. That was our practice gym when we played.
That was the joint?
That was our practice gym. Okay.
So McDonough was like the Capital Center for.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, ain't no question. So once I saw the gym, once I saw campus, and I just wanted to play Division I basketball. That was my whole goal. I vibed with Coach Tapscott, Ed Tapscott, and I watched Gordo and Ed Sloan and Mark Nickens and watched those guys practicing. And I saw they wore ponies, even though I was like, okay, with the ponies, all right, no big deal. I just knew I was gonna get a college scholarship to play basketball, and that was it, So
you brought up, you mentioned Juan Jones. Now, just for the record, I reached out to Juan Jones, and that's the only thing Facebook is good for, right?
Right.
To find your lost compadres. And he's out here in LA. And
right.
I couldn't track him down. So if either of you have digs on him, tell him we put out an APB on a McKinley textile. Because that's the only reason Billy was coming on, was to see Juan.
I wanted to see Juan.
The Juan Jones stories we have, I'm sure you've never heard. Because Juan became a different person when he got to AU. He became a different person.
Yeah.
And he turned into be a hell of a player.
Yeah.
Incredible player. But if you could have seen him at McKinley and what the finished product was, you'd have that much more respect for the guy. Like he metamorphosed. It was a metamorphosis. Billy, what did the AU GU series mean to you, if anything?
Well, because they were only 5 miles away, it was just, a respect thing. You just had to, own the area. And but because Juan was on the team too, though. It was kind of like a little extra incentive, playing against my guy. I had a lot of respect for Juan. I only got to play with him 1 year at McKinley, but he was one of the most focused individuals I've ever been around, and I've been around a lot. But he had an intensity about him. He didn't have a lot of talent, but he had physically, he was big, he was strong, he could jump, had hands. Didn't have a lot of
the hands were crazy.
But the guy would get every little bit out of what he had. And I loved playing with him, and I liked playing against him too, because you knew it was going to be tough.
What I remember was he was pigeon-toed. I don't know why I remember that. That's
And
why.
you-
That's what
Man,
I
I
remember.
just remember him having some big hands, and if he got the ball around the basket, he's going to try to dunk on somebody.
Yeah.
And I tried to emulate that a little bit as a young fella watching him. He's like, man, that dude tried to dunk on everybody.
And
And
the
he
thing,
had a lot of respect for Juan.
the
And
thing that I,
you in
the thing,
general.
the thing I remember what you said about his intensity, but when Juan would dunk the ball, he go,
Yeah. And you talk about his hands, he could catch anything.
Anything.
You could throw it up to him anywhere. And
I mean, we can say dick beaters on here. So he had dick beaters. Like his
yes, he did. He did.
were crazy, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I upload this to YouTube and I put on this is like restricted, so kids can't watch it. So unfortunately, your kids might not be able to peep it, but you can you know bleep out some stuff. Gordo, you're from Linden, New Jersey.
Yes.
How did you get to AU, and were you heavily recruited? Was AU just on your radar?
Yeah.
Did they offer something that you were interested in?
My junior year in high school, we were #1 in the state. We ended up losing we lost to Camden in the state finals in a tight game. So I got a lot of attention from college coaches. Aaron Howard was on my team, played for Villanova.
Yep.
A long time. And but as it turned out, Gary Williams just recruited me more than anybody else did. He was a coach at Woodrow Wilson in Camden. He guarded at Maryland, and just his energy. I knew nothing about American. I had no idea. Boo Bowers was in the same county that I grew up in Westfield. He was at American, so I had a little bit of connection there. And then got down to Richmond, St. Joe's, LaSalle recruited me some. But it was more just, wanting to play for Gary. When I went to the campus, I liked it. They showed me the library, which is now the library, Bender Arena. At that time, they told me they were building a gym. Never happened.
Right.
But I think I was pretty much like Frank. That part of it didn't bother me. I just knew I wanted to play Division I basketball, and I thought I could play right away. And back then, we were in a tough conference. We had Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's.
Tough conference, yeah.
Yes, and it was very competitive.
Yeah. Billy, how did you and Frank become such good friends after being rival enemies to some degree?
Well, you know how restrictive things were at Georgetown in terms of people coming to our gym, that weren't part of the team. And for some reason, John saw something in Frank, and Frank was there, like, he played there. And so we started working out together. Mostly it was after, we got, out of school. But man, we started training together, and then, we had the gym on Sundays, out at Doc's place. Gene, you never went out there, but we became very close, just, from being around each other every day. And then, Frank kind of endeared himself to me when, I had a situation with, a guy that I thought was a friend of mine that was taking advantage of me, and Frank didn't like it. So Frank threw up his hands, and, they went at it right there at the gym. He liked it. He did not like it one bit. At that point, he's dear to my heart forever. Yeah. And we've been friends ever since. I was just down in Dallas a few months ago, got to see Frank and hang out with him and his family, meet his wife and his kids. Just a class act, just a class act.
Yeah, but both of these guys are class acts. Frank, I want you to touch on that, your relationship with Big John, because, I cannot underscore what Billy just said. You were constant in the gym. In our gym, in the off season, and that just spoke volumes because, I also had a friend that, for whatever reason, Big John let work out with us. But what was that like for you, and what does that mean in the grander scheme?
Well, that kind of, it started when I first, after my freshman year, I worked Coach Thompson's camp. And so Dooms and I when the campus would go up to lunch, Bill was getting ready to go to where you had got drafted by Indiana. Was that the next year?
Yeah.
Indiana. Two Sixers and two Pacers.
Yeah. So I would stay down there and shoot with Dooms, and but let me also just touch on the fact I grew up in the neighborhood watching Dooms at open gym, and he would come to the gym and everybody was big Dooms, big Dooms, big Dooms. So I didn't, I was a young cat, so I used to just sit there and watch him, and watch play in the Capital Classics and that whole bit. Then he went on to Georgetown. So then once I started working the camp, after I played against you guys, which one thing I knew I needed to get stronger, like Gordo said, because, the one thing playing against Georgetown that I realized as a college player, if I got past Gene Smith, well, David Wingate was coming up behind me just as fast. And so I knew I needed to get stronger. But when I worked camp, I asked Coach Thompson if I could use the weight room. And he looked at me, because you guys had the new Nautilus. We had a universal. We had a universal downstairs in the Cassell Center. And Gordo can verify that. We had a high school universal downstairs. So when I asked Coach, could I use the weight room, he looked at me, he said, yeah, just don't bring anybody down here with you. So over the years, I kept working the camp, but then also Coach, he gave me carte blanche. I could come down, I could play, I could go in and get taped by Miss Michaels, if whatever. And I didn't realize, Gene, till years later that, and then even like Coach had me come out to the '88 Olympic trials. And the thing that I didn't I realized, after that time, I was like, he really accepted me and allowed me to I told John III and Ronnie, I always felt like I was an honorary Hoya, because he allowed me to, come into Georgetown. I saw Ed Spriggs would come down, somebody on the court, hey, who are you? Come on, get off the court. Let's go. And so
he left out some expletives.
Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, before Coach, when Tommy Shepard was named as the GM of the Wizards, and we had a press conference, and John III was added on to Monumental Basketball. Coach was at the press conference, and I'm walking out, and I hear somebody calling me, and I turn back and look, and I see a hand wave, and I go back. And I look, and I go back to Coach, and I gave him a hug, and he looked at me. He said, "Son, I'm so proud of you," and it just touched me so much, because I just he meant so much to a lot of people. I didn't play at Georgetown, but that for him to be proud of me, it really meant a lot. And like I said, he always was, and even Coach, because I remember when I graduated. Bill Strickland was with ProServe, and they came, and Bill was with ProServe at that time. And when I went to ProServe down to the office to talk to them, and I remember Bill Strickland looked at me and he said, "You know why we got you in here?" He said, "Coach Thompson told us we need to come represent you." And I was just kind of sitting there like,
Nice.
Wow. And he always, there was, people can do stuff for you, and they do it not because they want, they want recognition for it, because they want to help, and Coach, like I said, I always felt like I was honorary Hoya, only, except when we played the Hoyas,
Frank, could anybody work that camp? How did you get to be part of the camp, to get in there? You remember?
You know what? I don't even remember. I just know I got paid to go down there to work the camp, because you was a counselor, and and I worked it every year, and and that was just, that was, and I remember asking Mike Riley one time if I could get some sneakers under the stage, and so this,
about the sneakers under the stage, dude.
See that? So I remember asking Mike. I said, Coach, I said, can I get a pair of sneakers? And he looked at me. He said, "You transfer down here. You can get all the sneakers you want."
Hey, Gordo, do you have any Georgetown player stories that you want to share with us, just in terms of, in game, out of game? Because your name to me was not a name I enjoyed hearing, because after that game, Coach Thompson let me know that, you got owned tonight. I'm like, dude, I got 5 fouls. I think I used the ball. What else can I do? But do you have any stories you want to share with us in terms of the rivalry?
Just all 4 years we played Georgetown, right? I told you my freshman year we played at McDonough. It's amazing. My sophomore year, Georgetown came to Fort Myers and played.
Yes,
and that was unheard of. and that was only like a 5-point game. And we talk
yep.
about
I'm looking
about
at the scores right now. One
Right.
game was 74-72 and 81.
right. So maybe that was the game. That was the game. And then Ed Springs, I think, had a big game there. You guys were just, very tall. We couldn't handle you. But I think my junior year, we played at the Cap Center again, and you guys handled us by like 15-16. And then senior year, we won. It was, and like Frank and everybody's talking about, it was Ed Sloan, Mark Nickens, Juan Jones. They all knew, they played against you guys in the summertime. You'd come over to Cassell Center and play. They, so it wasn't like we were afraid of playing you, right?
Yeah.
We thought we were on the level. Our biggest problem was after we beat you, every game we played, this is the team that beat Georgetown.
That's right.
It was my senior year was very difficult. We finished 20-10. We were 21-9. 21-9. No. Sophomore year, we were 24-6 in IT. Junior year, 21-9 in IT.
Okay.
Senior year, Ed Tapscott's first year coaching, we finished 20-10 and didn't make it. And it was pretty much a disappointing year because we had everybody returning. And it was just, I'm telling you, everywhere we go, we played Northwestern in end of January, and there would be signs on the door, team that beat Georgetown. Crazy.
You had to carry that. No,
Yeah.
believe you me, the practices after losing to you guys were not fun practices.
No.
Not fun practices.
But you can't tell me there wasn't a letdown. I mean, the Samson Ewing game was so hyped.
Oh, I'm gonna defer to Billy because Billy got more minutes than me. So whatever Billy says.
He might be onto something, but I agree with one thing he said, because we had this conversation when we had the guys from Villanova on when they, because we were so familiar with each other, year after year after year. The fact that, we were from the same area, we saw each other through the summertime. They weren't intimidated, they weren't intimidated, the mystique and all that stuff that we had, with teams that have never seen, a gremlin come off the bench and spit in your face while playing defense and all that stuff. And all
I was hoping that didn't come up, but I knew Frank would bring it up. I was hoping it didn't come up.
I've been telling that story forever, and I'm glad to know it's actually a true story.
No, Gordo. Because my freshman year before we played Georgetown, Cap had us practice with 6 guys on the defensive side of the floor to simulate the type of pressure that we were going to be under. And I remember specifically, he stopped practice. Do you know you're going to be playing against Gene Smith? He was spitting in Gordo's face. He's going to be spitting in your face. And I was like, I don't know about that one.
The way Frank told me that story was like, yo, man, that ain't happening. That's not gonna happen. But all I know is that those games meant a lot to me because again they were local and there was a respect factor there because we balled with you guys, all season. So again, it means a lot to have you both on. I'd like to talk to you just about, are you guys still connected with the school? Do you guys go back? Because you are Hall of Fame cats, and I would think it would be to not have you both back. And again, I want to get into what you guys are currently doing now, but are you guys still connected to AU?
I still go. I probably go to 1 or 2 games a year. I probably should go more. I live right now right by George Mason, so it would only be a half-hour drive. It's real easy.
Okay.
AU right now is in a real good conference where I feel like they should win. Right, they're in the Patriot.
Yep.
For a while there, we were in the CAA, and it was very hard to compete with ODU, Richmond. I mean, it was North Carolina. It was hard. They're in the right conference right now. So I go back. I'm always welcome back, and obviously wonderful memories.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't been to a game in a while because of my work schedule. I've been trying to work them in terms of, because I don't live in DC now, but I agree with Gordo in terms of being in the right conference now because my sophomore year we switched to the Colonial, so now we're playing in Fort Myers, and I'll never forget we go to Richmond to play for the very first time. And I walk into Robinson and I'm looking around like, are you kidding me? Like, this is like, we play in Fort Myers and this is what they play in. So So I definitely agree that being in the Patriot is the right conference, and
I just wish they put more emphasis on winning. And you know, I mean, I do a podcast with Ed Tapscott and Gary Williams. We do it once a week, and Gary always says, you know, he wishes AU would be like the Butler of the area. I mean, it is a hidden gem, but they're not really trying to win. You know, they're just trying to do the right thing.
Right. And you know, Gordo, this little webinar or podcast, whatever it is, those type things we try to bring to the surface, but we bring them to the surface in a proactive way. Like we're concerned citizens. We're not singling out because I definitely think AU is a hidden gem in the district. Like it's a special place. And I kind of put you two on the spot with that because I'm slowly but surely pulling Billy Martin, pulling him in because I don't want him to get too far because, you know, he's one of our treasures. So you know, Billy, please, thank you for keep showing up for me, man. I really love having you on these episodes because, you know. Hey,
how about both of you gentlemen? You go back to Georgetown, you go to games?
I'm gonna let Billy start with that one.
When I'm in the area, if I'm able to, I'll go back to a game. In fact, the last time I saw them was here in Illinois. They came here to play at the University of Illinois. But, you know, I very rarely get back out that way. But if they come out this way, I'll check out a game here and there. But I'm not real close to the program. You know, Pat, you know, and I speak once or twice a year. And it's usually over text. You know, it's tough to get them. And you got to go through filters. You know, you got to talk to Pat Jr. and then you talk to Pat Sr. Kind of like you had to talk to Mary Fallon, and then you can talk to, you know, Coach Thomas.
See, Frank over there, he's an honorary because he's smiling, so he kind of knows that this shit is true. For me, Gordo, this is me staying connected, and this started with no real goal in mind other than to support the Jamaican, and I'm going to continue to do that until you know I can't anymore, until you know wind goes out of my sails. But I think, you know, the fact that you guys are in the Hall of Fame for AU, and the fact that Billy Martin, who he is as it relates to Georgetown basketball, will always be connected. I'm currently in LA. When they come out here for the Wooden Legacy, I'm going to definitely show up. If I got to panhandle some tickets, I'll figure it out. You know, I guess for us, our program has its stature or its ways, and that's just being a product of that. You know, it's acceptance, and we're good with it. So it's always, you know, it's bigger than us, right? And I know this about you two individuals. Those stats that I rattled off in the beginning, you guys didn't play for stats, right? You guys were both winners. With that, I'd like to segue into what you both are currently doing. And we're going to let Frank go first because he's doing the most shit. So, because I want to one day tap into what Frank's doing because, you know, he's killing it over there. First of all, can we get a look at all those bracelets you got on, dog? Because I might have to give me some of those as well.
There you go.
Go ahead. Well, currently, I work with the Washington Wizards. I'm vice president of the college. I'm vice president of college personnel. What I do is I oversee the draft process for the Washington Wizards. This is my 12th year with the Wizards, my 22nd in the NBA. Prior to the Wizards, I was with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Started with them when they were in Seattle, and then moved to Oklahoma City. And then I originally, when I first got into the NBA, was with the Charlotte Bobcats when Ed Tapscott was the president of the Charlotte Bobcats. And I started scouting then. I actually got into basketball. I stayed away from it for about 10 years. I was a police officer in Arlington County. Then I went in business for myself, selling the Rainbow Vacuum, because I wanted nothing to do with basketball. I wanted just to define myself away from basketball. And my college teammate and roommate, Billy Stone, reminded me probably every other month, you need to be doing something in basketball. You need to be doing something in basketball for 10 years. And then finally, when I decided I was going to get in basketball, he was actually the person that had tickets to the Final Four because he works for CBS. And I went out there, ended up getting a job at in college, and wanted to be a head coach in college basketball, and just kind of organically things fell into place, and I've been in the NBA for a minute. But I want to also just touch on this quick story. When we played Georgetown my freshman year, and you guys, like I said, because Gordo had teed me up, you guys beat us like a drum that year. And I remember when I fouled out of the game, Gene, you came down to the bench and you pointed at me and hit your chest and said, "Way the ball, way the ball." At that point, Gene, I said to myself, I said, "Damn, you a ball player now." You know what I'm saying? Gene Smith came down and gave you your props. I don't know if you remember that, Gene, but you came down and pointed at me and was like, "Yo, way the ball, way the ball."
I don't remember the spitting episode, and I don't remember that. So I'm sorry. I'm not claiming it. Frank, thanks for sharing that. And you clearly are a podcast all in an episode all in itself. Thank you for sharing that. But the career trajectory, I hope if there are any younger listeners, they tap into that. Gordo, you got your own insurance agency. Am I correct with that?
That's correct. I've been doing it for maybe a little over 20 years. So it's in Annandale, Virginia. Got my daughter and 2 other people working for me now. So it's running well. So I'm very, very lucky. I coached college basketball for 17 years when I stopped, probably from 83 to 90, 99, somewhere in that range. I was at BC for 1 year with Gary. I was at University of Pennsylvania for 5 years. Thinking about that, having the keys to the Palestra at the University of Penn was like was phenomenal. The lunchtime hoops we played and just wonderful memories. Then 97, I got out thinking I was going to get back in. Gary Williams at the time at Maryland, his top assistant, Billy Hahn, turned down the Towson State head coaching job. And I was going to take his spot. And then once he turned it down, I went into insurance and just stayed there. And everything's worked out wonderful.
Awesome. Billy Martin, what are you currently up to now? And if I haven't, I normally don't get around to it because I spent so much time on our careers together. What are you currently doing now? Just share with your peoples and let us know.
Okay. Well, currently I'm with State Farm Insurance. Basically, 3rd or 4th year in my first, swing at the corporate world. For years, I worked out, in sales. I like the freedom of it, the constant action of it, and I did that for 20 years. And finally, as the market changed and all that stuff, and the salary changed and the hours didn't, and so my wife convinced me to get a real job, and probably the best decision I ever made.
I don't know if there's anything you and Gordo can do together, but
But Bill, I will tell you this: everybody has to have auto and home insurance, right? So everybody can be a customer, everybody can be a client, right? Life insurance it's not for me. People want it, I'll sell it to them, but it's not something I could ever really do for a living and just sell life insurance. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
When Bill came to my house, before he came, my son Jackson looked at me and said, "So Bill from State Farm's coming?"
Perfect.
I just want a shirt. I want a shirt that says Bill Martin, State Farm, and I want a shirt for Gordon Austin. I want a shirt with the insurance joint. That's all I'm asking for. I will rock that with a suit.
You'll get one.
I guess the final thing I want to hit you guys with, and again, I appreciate your time. It's a Sunday. Sure. We 40 minutes in. I usually try to make these things less than an hour, but that could change with Frank on the joint. It could change. Your opinions, your opines, your thoughts on college basketball today, in particular with the NIL, and then if the three of you, or definitely Frank and Bill, if you can just touch on the state of basketball in the DMV, in particular you, Frank, with your current position. So the NIL joint in terms of college basketball right now, and kind of put yourself, like your careers, kind of like how would you be flowing and then the whole thing about the DMV, the state of the DMV. So I'll just throw that out there.
Well, first of all, with the NIL, just, you know, are there any reparations we can get, you know? First of all, but I think, you know, it can be good from the standpoint now that the college athletes can benefit from their name and likeness. You know, there can be some negatives to it where they can be exploited from the standpoint of just going more so after the money. And you know, I think for all of us, we played college. We went to college not, you know, for any type of, there was no monetary gain from it. You know, we went for the pure passion and the love of the game. And I always tell people, a lot of times I say, hey, I went to college to play basketball and got tricked into getting a degree, you know, because I knew in order to play, I had to keep my grades up. There was no other way you could play unless you kept your grades up. So, you know, I remember walking out of it my junior year, after my spring of my junior year, I talked to my counselor, my student advisor, academic advisor rather, and they telling me that, well, this is all you need after this semester. And I walked out of there scratching my head like, how did I do that? You know, so I just hope the kids don't lose the love of the game for the love of the, you know, the profit, in terms of which you get off of your name. So that's more of a concern for me, because I think for all of us, even from the standpoint of kids today, you know, basketball is becoming an affluent sport from the standpoint of, I remember Coach Ben Jobe had mentioned that to me years ago, the legendary Coach Ben Jobe that coached at Southern. And he talked about Dr. McClendon, Dr. Mack, as he called him, said that basketball becoming an affluent sport. And I had to think about what he said when he said that. And then years later, it started to come to me, because think about this for all of us. If you had gone to your parents and said, hey, look, I need $50 a week to go work out with this guy up at the gym, that's how much it costs. None of us would have played basketball. So, you know, we learned to play, you know, not with a lot of instruction. We learned to play on the playgrounds and open gyms. So, and so that goes in terms of the passion. I hope the kids don't, you know, they're not just chasing the money, and even the parents start chasing the money. So that's a big concern, I think.
You know,
Billy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to Dr. Carr about this issue, and he was telling me a story about a kid that had just signed a contract in the, I can't think of the name of the league, where, you know, they're training the kids to be professional athletes and they pay them. But anyway, the kid signed a contract, you know, it was $1.7 million. And the kid's dad was in jail, and his mom was a crackhead. And the concern was, you know, how's this kid going to know what to do? You know, who does he have around him? You know, how's this thing going to turn out? And that's a concern with, you know, with a lot of these young kids who are good enough to get paid at an early age. You know, who's going to be around them to help manage that stuff? And anyway, Doc was talking about, you know, how he's, you know, trying to develop a program for that league the same way he helped the NBA develop one for their rookies. And but I think it's a great thing that the kids can now get paid instead of going to college. I mean, universities for years have made, you know, millions and millions of dollars off the likenesses and images of players and all that stuff. And so I'm happy that kids can get paid now, and maybe not even go to college, because a lot of these kids want to be professional athletes and really don't want to get a degree. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you can make $1 million right away, you're off to a good start in life if you're a teenager. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice start.
If we can just touch on for a minute on your thoughts on the transfer portal. To me, that's got to be a nightmare if you're coaching college basketball right now. That kids could enter the portal. You see your kids in the portal. I mean, if I was a coach right now, my kid entered the portal, I know you automatically lose your scholarship. Obviously, you can get it back. My kid entered the portal, I don't think I'd ever have him back. And I mean, look, I know my career, Frank's, all of our careers, right? There's a chance we might have left our schools if there was a transfer portal. I know Frank would have been, you know, he would have had major, real good looks, knowing you didn't have to sit out and you could play right away and get a 5th year. I don't know how college coaches are doing it right now. I mean, they got to be, the majors have got to be looking right for all American U type players to try to nab them. And then you got the mid majors looking at 6th, 7th, and 8th men on powerhouse schools. So I think it's a tough one.
Yeah. All three of you touched on something that I want to highlight. I'll start with Gordo. Gordo, when you just dropped what you dropped, it made me think of, are there any Dame Lillards in college basketball? Right? Like, I'm waiting for a guy to say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna finish out my joint. I'm gonna finish out my deal here, and I'm gonna get it done. And again, we know Dame may change his mind tomorrow, right? But for right now, his mantra to me is impressive because, again, it goes against everything that the transfer portal represents. You also make me think, Gordo, of what Big John would have done with the transfer portal. Because I could definitely see him, and Billy, you can chime in on this. I can definitely see him. You put your name in the motherfucking portal. Well, you stay in the portal. There is no coming back from the portal, right?
Which should be.
Yeah. So that to me immediately jumps out. And then what Frank and Billy touched on for me is the education piece. Like, if you're not educating these players on what the NIL represents, and you're bringing in a third party or for a professional to talk to them, if that professional didn't play college athletics or wasn't a student athlete, he can't really kick the game to you right. Because you had hustlers in the game before hustling the kids and the family. It's only opened up that box even bigger. So for me, I'm bringing in cats like this panel right here to chop it up with you, the pros and the cons, and I'm kicking it to you with street verses. Like, I'm kicking it to you with bars, because I got to make you understand that bag may be short money. What's the long term? Right? You somebody offer you a bag. Have you researched or Googled what that person is about, what that company is about? Like, there should just be a educational baseline for everybody. And every program is differently, but you go to Georgetown, you go to AU, we're in the district, we're in the nation's capital. There's certain things that take place in our area, in the DMV, that you need to be aware of. So it might not be a good look for you to be associated with this person because of what they represent in the district. So it's basic things like that education that I think is getting leapfrogged. Because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to get paid.
That's it.
And, nothing against the athletic department, but I always struggle when there aren't former players somewhere within these athletic departments. Not just for the sake of eye candy, but like, people that, Frank, your movement from Potomac to AU to where you are now is crazy. Like, you didn't even really hoop in high school. And to see that trajectory, and that's a story that should be told to these youngins instead of just, nothing against AI, but just the AI story. Like, there are other stories, I think, that resonate. And I think each of you touched on that. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get on my soapbox about that.
Well said.
Yeah. And to touch on, because actually, Gordo, I had thought about transferring my sophomore year, and the main reason I didn't is because of Tap, because Ed Tapscott. Because he took a chance on me, because he actually offered me a scholarship and hadn't even seen me play a varsity game. So I stayed loyal to him. And I think, just like with the what you said, Gordo, with the transfer portal, if more coaches took that stance, if like, hey, if you put your name in, then okay, you done. Because I have a friend of mine that's a Division I coach, and he had a kid put his name in the portal, didn't talk to the kid all summer, and then the kid comes back the kid didn't go anywhere and comes back and shows up for practice like,
Everything's ready.
Wow.
like, yeah, so and I mean that, and a lot of times kids will transfer. If I'm getting the lion's share of shots at AU, why am I going, and I'm gonna get to my senior year and transfer someplace else, and now I got to share the lion's share of the shots and adapt to a new system, new teammates, new coaches. To me, that makes sense a lot of times, because especially if your end game is to get to the professional level, well, now, there's no hidden gems because there's so many platforms that we use to see people all over. So if you can hoop, we're gonna see you. We're gonna know who you are.
That's funny. I remember having that conversation with my son when he left St. John's High School to go to St. Patrick's, just so he could get more exposure. And it really starts in high school. There is no loyalty. I mean, the coach at St. John's had built this program around my son for 3 years. And his senior year, he decides, well, I can get more exposure if I go to St. Patrick's, even though he wasn't gonna get as many shots or any of that stuff. He ended up going to college and transferring a couple more times. It's just that it's a different mentality amongst the younger generation. And I'm kind of for it because now with the portal, they can decide, coaches can leave their school without any kind of backlash, penalty, take a better contract. Now the kids can make money. If you can go to a bigger school, get a little bit more exposure, sell a few more hats, t-shirts, whatever, make a little more dough, get in the portal later.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to, and again, the conversation with Big John about the portal would be the Big John I played for, not the Big John of 2000. He softened his stance a little bit,
Yes.
and again, I don't want us to come across like
everybody mellows with age.
like I don't want us to come across like we're just purists or we're old fuddy-duddies. We're just essentially saying the transfer portal shouldn't be for everybody. Like there is no way with my limited game back then I was going on any fucking transfer portal. Just say I wasn't going on any. I wouldn't even know how to spell transfer portal because Georgetown was the best place for me. Now Billy Martin on the other. Now I say that with a disclaimer. Everybody who's been through Georgetown, because of the wrath of Big John, at one point in time thought about just transferring, period, or not playing ball.
The thing was there was a sense of loyalty to the program and to the people around you. And so, that wouldn't have been, you couldn't say I'm going to leave and then all of a sudden come back. Well, you kidding?
Again, we could probably go on and on about this and pontificate on it. The NCAA clearly, is obsolete. They kind of just rolled this out to me, almost like with thinking that it wouldn't work, and then it would have to come back under their rule leadership. But yeah, Cats, love you guys. Thank you so much. If you have any parting words, please feel free. I'm just thankful that you guys are in my circle or of the brotherhood that we have, and I'm going to do a good job of definitely reaching out. I got my co-host trying to get in, so he might have some words to say. But if you guys have any parting words, please feel free.
I appreciate you letting me inside the Hoya locker room here. This is wonderful. Bring back wonderful memories, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Hey, Gordo, I love your profile picture.
Thanks.
It could not have been more apropos for this episode.
Thanks.
It's like, Frank, I got you one going against George Mason, which now makes sense because they're the only other school that recruited you. But Gordo, seriously, man, thank you. You almost ended my career with that game, but still, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
And I'd like to say, I really appreciate. First of all, I've been in the Hoya locker room because I was already accepted in there by Big John. So Gene, when I got your text, I was really elated because, like I said, I always felt like I was an honorary Hoya, and just having the one thing that me working the camp, and being allowed to come down to Georgetown and play during the summers. it just allowed me to, foster strong relationships with guys like you and Big Dunes and then Ronnie Thompson and just all the guys that, Pat, and I mean, the list goes on. So, I'm just thankful that I'm part of this brotherhood of this hoop world, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Congress?
Yeah, man, listen, I'm so excited, man. Once again, honored, man, to be able to, to see folks and conversate with folks. Gene, what you've done with this program and all the people that have come through, everyone that I've seen has been interesting and entertaining. I've had a chance to reunite with some of my guys from Villanova and other places in Syracuse, and now you got Frank on and Gordy, the BT connections. And I'm just proud of you, man. You talk about trajectory for people. When I think of all you've accomplished, Gene, from having that one scholarship, not being able to make a jump shot outside of 10 feet.
See, Frank is scratching his head.
I tell people all the time, Gene. I got drafted after you with the Pacers. The coach told me it was the toughest cut he ever had to make. He even named the defensive drill after Gene. And I'm like, what? Yeah, Gene Smith drill. Had a drill. They love him. Anyway, the trajectory, Gene. All you've accomplished, man. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Billy, let's be clear.
Yes.
He still can't make a jump shot.
So for everyone, this is Markham Stansbury, three-time Manager of the Year at Georgetown Board of Governors, and he's my co-host. So yeah, he's the more cerebral part of this program, and I appreciate you popping in, Markham. If you don't have anything else to say, you can leave. But if you got something to say, please say it by all means. Other than my jump shot, because for the record, I hit a jump shot in the AU game against Gordo and them. I hit a jump shot, one, but it was a jump shot.
I want to see that tape.
A 12-foot jump shot, Frank. Be enraged.
Hold on 1 second.
It was flat. It was flat, and the ball really didn't spin at all either.
That's awesome. Man. But thanks, Gene.
Listen, man. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I definitely will be in touch. And if you guys are ever in LA, please look me up. If I'm back in DC, or if I'm in Texas, Frank, you travel a little bit. So if you get out here, I don't want tickets to a game or nothing. I just want to grab a coffee. I don't want to do nothing. I got a 1-year-old. I don't do nothing.
Right.
But I genuinely appreciate each of you, man. And there's a reason why Frank and Gordo are in the Hall of Fame, and Billy, you're in my Hall of Fame. So thank you, guys, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hoya,
thank you, Gene.
Guys.
Thanks,
Bye, Frank. Thank you.
All right, Gordo.
All right, take care.
All right, Big Dunes.
Later.